everyone, my name is Frank and this is a quick demo video of CoCreateJS, a low-code collaborative headless CMS and JavaScript framework. CoCreateJS has a dual API, JavaScript and Html5 attribute API. In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to integrate CoCreateJS HTML5 attribute API on your new or existing HTML designs. Let's begin with the attributes collection, document ID, and name. As you can see here, we have a simple form with collection, document ID, and name defined. Collection is a group of documents. Document ID is the ID of a document within a collection, and name is a field in the document containing the value. I went ahead and I used the collection contacts. If contacts doesn't exist, then the contact collection will be created automatically. If you define the document ID, then you would be updating that document. In this case, because collection contacts is new, there is no documents. Therefore, we're going to leave the document ID empty. A new one will be created, and this document ID attribute would be auto-populated. I went ahead and I added the name full name, and then I created a few more elements. An H3 to display the full name, as well as the ID in order to display the document ID. And so we use this underscore ID as the name field within the document that represents the document ID. Next, let's go ahead and add a value to the input. As you can see, the value populated automatically because CoCreateJS is real-time by default, and so the value would populate automatically. I'll go ahead and I'll copy this document ID. Let's refresh this page. And as you can see, the value is gone. There is no value to display because there's no document ID defined. So we'll go ahead and define the document ID. Refresh the page again. And now we have the value displaying. And now it's updatable. And again, everything real time, so you saw the other field names populate. And it wouldn't just populate in this browser, but it will also populate in other users' browsers as well. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you. I have two windows already open, so I'll go ahead and I will minimize this. This needs to be refreshed. And I also need to refresh this so we could get those values using that document ID. And so as you can see, we display user cursors. Everything's collaborative, real time. And so we'll go ahead and we'll edit that. And we'll edit that. Let's go ahead and open up the code editor back. Next, we're going to demonstrate fetching the collection contacts and rendering it in a template, the list of contacts. And so I'll go ahead and I'll open this view. And as you can see, we have some simple HTML and CSS to create this card. And then I'll go ahead and I'll show you the HTML. So this is the container. And so we have a fetch collection. We have the template ID. And we define the template ID on the template itself with the class template so that the card itself would be hidden and used as a template. We also applied actions, save, and reset. And so the action would work like a chain in the order defined. And so it would first save and then it would reset the form so that we can use the form again to insert a new value. We also set it real-time false. So inserting the value, first character, won't actually create the document. We would actually need to click on the save action to save the document. So I'll go ahead and we'll refresh this. There's Michael Scott. And we'll go ahead and we'll add Tim Allen. And as you can see, it didn't save. Click on the button, it's saved. And then I'll go ahead and I'll make this real-time true again. And we'll just remove this. I will automatically make it real-time true by default. We'll save it, refresh the page. And now, automatically adds. And we'll just do John Doe. I'd like to show you another example of rendering. And so in this view, we went ahead and we created a data table. And so I'll go ahead and I'll show you this HTML. And so this HTML is a little more complex. It has tables, it has rows. We also added inputs with filters in order to filter the list. And so I'll go ahead and I'll refresh this page. And so there's our list. And then we'll go ahead and we'll filter the list. So next we're going to go ahead and open up the grid view again. And so the goal is that when you click on one of the cards in this grid view, we're going to go ahead and have the value inserted in the input so that we can edit that value from this input. And in order to do this, we simply just need to pass the document ID to the input, which will then fetch the value and make it updatable. I'm going to go ahead and open up this HTML. And so here's the HTML to the grid view. And we went ahead and we added a few new attributes. Pass to, pass document ID. And so for the document ID, because we're using the templating, we could use our double curly brackets. We start off with data, dot, and whatever the name is that you used in your input, the name field. And so we went ahead and we used the underscore ID, which represents the document ID. We could have used dot full name and actually insert the full name in that location. But we need the document ID. And so on the input, we went ahead and we add pass ID, which is the same value located in the pass to form fields. So now we'll go ahead and we'll test this. And so I'll go ahead and I'll click on John Doe, and there you have it. John Doe is located in the input field. And so we'll update it. And there it goes. Tim Allen, Tim Allen. I went ahead and I made a copy of this grid view. And I added a text area. I added an additional button called reset. And I just changed the collection to views and the fetch collection to views. And so the idea here is that we're going to save the list view and the grid view in the DB so that we can fetch them dynamically. So let's go ahead and let's open up the view. And here it is. And we'll create our first view. So we'll call this grid. And then we will get the HTML for the grid and paste it in here. And we're going to do the same thing for the list. Okay, and so then I'll reset this. Let's go ahead and open up the new view that I created. And so here I added an additional button called Actions Reset. I added two buttons, pass two views, and we're going to pass the document ID, one for grid, one for list. And we're going to pass it to this container. So I went ahead and I added the document IDs, one for the list view, one for the grid view. And I also added the grid view in the container so that it becomes a default view. So we'll go ahead and we'll open up that view. And then we'll refresh this page. And there it is. We have our grid view. And we'll switch to the list view. We'll switch back to the grid view. And we'll make some edits. And this is just the icing on the cake. We have successfully created collaborative admin, CRMs, website builders, rich text editors, and so much more, with an API that will transform the largest, most underserved development community, web designers and HTML developers. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.